What are some of the things that you may be doing consciously or subconsciously that could destroy your relationship? On this episode today, we want to talk about 7 behaviors that we have definitely seen that can be dangerous towards your relationship. I'm excited about this one.
I think it's going to be a good one, especially with having lived it and still living it. This is that topic that you never perfect. Just so that should be like that should give everyone a sigh of relief, because this is the topic that you have to constantly walk on, and there's no shame knowing that you're working on it, and it's not like you're getting better, but you're always at it, and just it's natural for you and becomes something that you just it's kind of like a tool in your tools belt. You gather them as you go, right? So what are the 7 things we want to discuss that can actually jeopardize your relationship? Number 1.
I mean, let's just throw out the most obvious one because I know y'all are like, okay, cheating and lying, yes, that would destroy.
Oh, okay.
That one. I just want to that's the lowest hanging fruit, and we're just gonna get that out there.
Yeah.
If you're lying, if you're cheating, if you're doing what you should not be doing, if you're doing what you would not want the light of day to catch you doing, you are gonna destroy your relationship.
hmm Especially when you think about, because you're breaking trust. So marriage is just that. It's that commitment that surpasses friendship. And what I mean by that is, with a friend, it's not like you should go about breaking trust with your friend. It's just that with marriage, it's heavier.
So different.
It carries a lot more weight, because now this is someone who has committed their lives to be with you forever, and then you break trust, and you're seeing the person every day. With a friend, they get to go home, or you get to go home, right? Or they're a phone call away, or maybe in different continents. But with your spouse, you see them, and so it's almost like you're going to that place of shame. And so that's the big one. The elephant in the room is: do not lie. Do not do not be that, like, don't be dishonest. And I've done it before. I think there was a time, and I'll be vulnerable. There was a time I wanted to buy something. I forgot what it was, and I knew Latifah would say, "I don't think that's a good idea." It's not like, to be honest, looking back, it's not like she would stop me. It would be more of good counsel. But at the time, the excuse for me was she would stop me. So I went about to buy. What was it? I've forgotten what it was. It was expensive. Maybe it was training, because usually I do a lot of IT training, and so I paid for it. And it's just like, what was this for? And then yeah.
So I will say, even though we're talking about cheating or lying, it's obvious, but I think the part of it that's not always obvious is the financial
Mm-hmm.
lying and cheating when it comes to finances.
Correct.
And I think that when you don't set expectations, or when there's no rules, right? Where there's no rules, there's no laws, there's no guidelines, there's no boundary setting when it comes to finances and what you're spending on, what I'm spending on,
Yeah.
what we talk about, what we don't talk about. You find yourself hiding. And I've seen this so many times as someone that talks about money and coaches women about money, especially if they've gone through sort of relationship issues, whether it's divorce or separation as a result of finances. I need to look up this data to confirm it, but there was someone quoted that there is data. Again, I haven't looked up the data, but I should, because I'm just remembering right now, that said that many relationships may actually survive cheating,
Cheat.
relational cheating, but they will not survive financial stress. And so, one of the behaviors that would actually destroy your relationship would be where there is no transparency, which is lying or cheating when it comes to finances. If you're buying things that you're like, I'm going to hide it so the other person doesn't know,
Yeah.
you're squandering stuff, you're selling assets without their permission, all that is,
That's it.
all that will destroy your relationship, really.
And I remember where that was from. It was Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful
Yes.
had it was more like a reel. He did a reel, and if you guys don't know Mr. Wonderful, well, he's the guy with the
On
bald
Shark
hair
Tank.
in Shark Tank. And his name just skipped me right now. I actually know his actual name, but yeah. So he did a reel, and he said, he's into marriage. He's been married for over 20 years, and then he said there's actually statistics that he came about that marriages will survive, probably will survive cheating compared to
Financial.
financial stress. And so the idea is, do not lie, be honest about your finances, because at the end of the day, this is someone you're going to spend your life with, and the more lies you tell, the more you bury yourself, because the lies just keep compounding. So that's the elephant in the room.
So that's number one. That's the big lowest hanging
Yeah,
fruit, but a big low hanging fruit,
correct.
right? Especially the financial part. Number two is being absent. And when we say being absent, it's physically absent because you're overworking, you're spending time away from home, or emotionally absent even when you're physically present.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you have anything to
yeah. I think the physical absence is will happen from time to time, right? You're working, she's working, da 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 da. But um, I think it can be extended. It can be a extended period of time if you're both communicating, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're both agreeing. And I'll give you a practical example. There was one when Latifah and I were dating. She and I, we came to this agreement. She was in California, I was in New York, and the agreement was every 3 months, right? We would travel. One person would travel, see the person for the weekend, and vice versa.
We're heck of broke.
Yes. This was 2007, and we did it for a couple of years. And the reason why we survived by the grace of God was because we established that agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And there was constant communication every 3 months. And so there are marriages where couples would travel for a long period of time.
Military.
Military, right? They're gone for sometimes 6 months to a year or even more than that, right? And those marriages sometimes stay together. But the point is, there is an agreement, right? So that's the physical piece. But I think there's one that is much more.
Yeah, the emotional
The
piece.
emotional piece.
The emotional piece one, it's so important. And
Yeah.
what that could look like is where, and there's also an element of trust where there may be lack of trust and lack of emotional safety, lack of emotional transparency. So, for example, if anytime I'm talking to Shula about how my day is looking more on a strategy perspective and not meeting me from like a heart perspective, right? That can lead to emotional inability if or an emotional unavailability.
Mm-hmm.
If I am having a rough day at say at work and I cannot trust that my husband is someone that I can trust to say today was hard and I know that there would be a hug waiting for me, right? So it's that two hearts becoming one. When two hearts are not being one, then that is emotional
Mhm.
unavailability.
Especially when, even as a man, you want your wife to be available for you, right? You want your wife to listen to you, and so this is you paying it paying it back where you also listen. And for me, I'm doing a lot of sharing today. So for me, I struggled with this because my mind had to be present in the sense of, you try not to fix this, because the more I tried to fix it, the more I became quote unquote wreck Ralph, where I just wreck things as opposed to just being present. Don't provide a solution. Don't try to troubleshoot. Probably because I'm also in IT, but that's me giving an excuse now. I'm in IT and I do troubleshooting a lot. And so my idea is, okay, she's telling me, okay, I have to help her quickly, and just relieve the burden. And my response now is to resolve it. And but she's like, no, I do not want you to fix it. I just want you to hear me out. I just want to vent, right? And so I think that's the key. That's the struggle that I've gone through, when it comes to emotionally being emotionally present. Emotionally present doesn't mean that you are just listening. It's also, you are also trying to just be, I'm struggling with the words, trying to be in a place where you can actually she knows that you hear her, she's heard. I remember someone saying this, that I felt seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think emotional support is making your spouse feel like she's heard and seen, which is the struggle.
But if you don't learn how to do it, if you're letting the and An example I would give, and you see this on many movies where maybe a couple they're married and there is the strategy of how we're living our lives, especially if you have kids, where it's like, okay, we're doing this, you're taking care of this, I'm taking care of this. They're executing together, or maybe you have businesses together, you're executing together. But when your heart desire, the thing that gets your gets you excited, the things that makes you afraid or fearful,
Yeah.
the things that are really on your heart, if you cannot share heart to heart, that can lead to separation, where your heart can become more hardened, for lack of a better term. And that's when you would see in the cliche movies where now like a coworker is like, it looks like you're having a hard day today. And like, yeah, nobody's asked me that question forever, right? But I also like, actually, because that reminds me of a thing that is so easy to do, where you can literally just ask, how are you doing?
Correct.
But like, and stay for the answer. Stay for the answer, hear the answer, ask them questions based on the answer.
Mhm. And I think so. I just recalled something that happened recently. There was this contract that I was working on, and I was very stressed. And I actually spoke to Latifat about it. And obviously, the more I shared, she also was getting stressed to the point where at one point I think I just said, I feel like you are not hearing me, because she was trying to tell me how to respond in that contract. Like, okay, you cannot do this, you cannot take this anymore. You need to tell that person, da 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 da. And I just responded, I said, I feel like you're not hearing me. I feel like you're not listening to me. I feel like you're trying to solve the problem. And so in the process of me sharing again and again, and she was seeing the stress that it was that I was going through, and consequential, she also was going through it as well, and she wanted to alleviate, right, to help me, and I had to tell her, I feel like you're not hearing me, right, and so that's the challenge. Sometimes, it's not like the person, your spouse, is not hearing you, but sometimes you're just like
Trying to remove the pain,
trying to remove the pain.
alleviate the pain.
Correct. So what we're sharing is not things that, oh, you just do and it just clicks. Sometimes there is friction. There is friction, right? There is like you get feedbacks like, but I didn't say that. That was not my intention. We took a course, or we are taking a course in counseling that I'm taking.
It was like,
Yeah,
I'm here for the degree, not here for the work.
in seminary, and one of the strategies of counseling is to listen to the point where you're actually you tell the person you're counseling, how does that make you feel, as opposed to you trying to give a solution, and then you actually, instead of causing guilt, you cause shame. And this is the difference. uh, with guilt, it can lead the person to repentance. With shame, they already feel it, you just compounding it, and they actually withdraw.
Yep. Yep.
Just wanted to share that.
All right. So 3, what are we're talking about the 7 behaviors that destroy relationships. We've talked about lying, cheating, especially when it comes to finances. We've talked about not being present, which could be physical, which could be emotional. Number 3 is assuming without curiosity.
Oh boy. I
Assuming.
think this is every man's cross. This is where we die.
I think it's everyone, not I mean, I guess, well, it depends on what you mean by man.
I'm speaking for
Okay, well, we got our own issues too, right? Because I mean, there are times when we have to remember the heart, the intent behind,
Yeah.
because it's like, why did you do what you did? Why did you not do what you needed to do? Right? Why did blah 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 blah? As if that person woke up in the morning and was like, how can I ruin Latifah's day?
Yeah.
Right? So when we assume, because many times someone does something and we have a thought, okay? You observe what just happened, you have a thought, and then many times we create a story around that thought. So, for example, maybe Chile drove my car and now came back without gas in the car, which I hate buying gas, right?
She buys $5 gas.
Sometimes, yeah, we may have shared it before. I would literally, well, I'm now saved.
It's now that means $10.
No, that's not true. The longer I stay at the gas station, just feels like a waste of my just standing there. I've gotten better. I used to do that all the time. I would buy enough gas to get me home. But Sheila does not hate buying gas. So at least I'm not delegating something that is hated, right? If I hate it and you don't hate it,
Yeah. Yeah.
why not help
Correct.
me not suffer and vice versa, right? Right? Y'all, what do you think?
Correct. Correct.
So when we're talking about though, as human, if he did that, and now I'm approaching it or responding to it from a perspective of he doesn't care about me or
Yeah.
respect my time. I just made an assumption. I don't know if he wasn't even thinking, right? And so if I come into that conversation with the assumptions
Yeah.
in my head, the stories that I've already created, you can see how now I'm no longer responding based on what happened. I'm responding based on the story that I have created about why he did what he did without me coming into the conversation and asking with curiosity, why did you pump on without buying gas?
Yes. So what I meant when I said this is the cross where every man dies is, and I'll speak for myself, not for every man. I apologize for saying that. My where I came,
Is apologizing to every man.
I'm coming. Yes, I'm coming from the perspective of culture, right? Culture made me assume some things about my wife, right, and to be presumptuous because of how I was raised. Not, and when I say how I was raised, I'm not speaking of my dad and the elders, the men calling me and saying this is how you do this. It's I'm speaking about learning by observation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I grew up with some things that I did not know. I just thought, okay, this is how a woman does. This is how she's supposed to serve me, as opposed to me serve. And it's amazing, right? Christ just threw that out the window with him saying, "I came not to be served, but to serve." But that's where I was coming from. That I came into our marriage assumptions, presumptions based on culture. And I had to, and I'm still having
Mm-hmm.
to address those things. That's what.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. So the way that you improve that behavior is talking about your
Yes.
assumptions,
Yeah.
actually slowing down your role and asking. And when your spouse answers that question, believe them. Unless they've given you reasons to do it,
Yeah.
believe them. I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about it. Imagine if you like came home, maybe there's like some leftover. Oh my goodness. Okay, plantain chips. All right, y'all. Plantain chips. Normally, that's my thing. Shirley doesn't love plantain chips. But one thing that I've noticed is the longer we are married, the longer we spend together, the more we start liking what the other person likes, kind of. For the most part, with some
Except for
exception,
movies.
except for movies. Why? I mean, I do watch them, but I'd rather read a book. I'd rather read a book or write or journal
Yeah.
or sit down outside and drink coffee and tea, right? Um, and I remember though that
I
I
had the last
and
plantain
ate
chips,
the last plantain chips.
and I don't know what I was thinking.
That was,
That was
I mean,
good.
what the moment I saw that, I had a lot of story. It doesn't care. It wasn't thinking about me. Why would it do that? Like, who eats the last plantain chips when you don't love plantain chips?
So she's supposed to eat the last plantain
I love plantain
all the
chips.
time.
Not all the time, but that's a sacrificial thing about plantain.
I have to go through.
If there's something that you'll love,
Yeah.
it could be me sacrificing that, right?
Yeah.
For example, you like to drive.
I do.
I don't.
I like
I like to
driving
drive.
because if sometimes when I'm in the passenger seat, sometimes I get, you know, what is it called? Vertigo or
Vertigo.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, you know, I remember that I had to slow down my brain and go, this guy does not actually hate me.
Alright.
This guy doesn't want to take out the joy in my life. This guy is not trying to like make me suffer plantain chips less. Right. So, anyways, but the key is slow down your roll. You're on the same page. Remember, this person does not hate you. And that will slow down the level of the crazy stories
Yeah.
that you may be having in your head.
Yep.
So that's number 3. All right, what do we have for number 4?
Number 4 is ego and pride. So this is also the thing. So ego is that thing you're constantly working on.
What does the ego look like?
I think ego is when ego is feeling you deserve something. right? And it can be for many reasons. It's you deserve something for whatever justification you have in your mind. And when you don't get that, you're hurt because you just feel like I deserve. So for example, I'm coming from work. I deserve a hot meal, and when I come in, I want to stretch my legs, and then my wife just brings my food and just puts it on the table. Now, it doesn't mean that my wife cannot and does not from time to time, but ego is like I deserve this, and so when you don't get it, you're hurt. Some part of you is hurt, and it can lead if you don't address it quickly, right? It can cause more harm, and the Bible says pride goes before destruction, or haughty spirit before a fall. So it can actually cause it can spill into many areas, and just cause a lot of, I don't know how to put it. I'm trying to find an example of ego.
I mean, I think one that comes up a lot is not willing to apologize.
Mhm.
And I
Oh,
think that
yes.
from a woman's perspective, but also from a guy's perspective. But I think what is egotistical that I've seen a lot of, not necessarily in you, because ego is not something you get rid of one time. It's a daily, the same way the Bible talks about every day you carry your cross daily and you follow God. You die into self
Yeah.
every day. It is not asking for help is a sign of his ego,
Yeah.
right? Not asking for help. I can do it on my own. I'm the only solution to the problem without even thinking that. Where anytime I is the predominant thing, that is actually ego.
Oh, I remember a good example of ego. There was one time I felt like I could fix things in the house. And I had this strong feeling. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, this story." So there was our I was trying to replace the shower head, and Latifat said, "Call someone to do it." I said, "Ah, I can do it. It's just a shower head." So I I took off the shower head without shutting down the water
That
that supplied
supplies
the whole
that
house.
shower head.
Actually, the whole house.
I know.
And so while I was when I took as I took it out, it didn't happen right away. It was like almost like 30 seconds to a minute. And I had the water pressure just, and oh my goodness. And this was upstairs. Water just I mean we long story short, I flooded the upstairs all the way to the downstairs, damaged the kitchen, and still could not find
The source.
the source where I can shut down the water because I was panicking, and my neighbor came to help me. But again, I
I'm just gonna add that this was like a month before we hosted a
no,
wedding.
no, no. It was about 2, 3 months because we had time to file insurance.
But I remember we're still fixing the stuff when the first set of family members
Yeah.
arrived.
Pretty much, the damage cost was in tens of thousands. Talk about ego, right? Talk about ego. So again, I just wanted to share that story so that way it's not like we're just talking, but real life examples of how I have,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not asking for help is a big
it's
one.
a big,
Especially culture has taught you that as a man you should get it. I got this.
yeah,
As a woman, you should I got this. We forget the fact that God has actually blessed us with community.
yeah,
And yes, I know there's some people watching this that are like, well, I'm the only person in my family that lives in the city. Community can sometimes be free or by blood. Or even by blood is not free because you probably tolerate some stuff from each other. So there's a cost to it. But there are times when you pay
yeah,
just for community through, nanny, babysitter, someone to help cook. Sometimes it's ordering out. Like
yeah.
the I can do it actually can increase burnout,
Oh,
increase stress, and lead to things like shorter attitude. And also takes of your time. Where now you're like, I don't even have time to spend with God because your ego said you had to do everything, and now
mhm.
you don't have time for the most important
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Okay, so that one is a big one.
That's a big one.
The number 5 is this is another behavior that can definitely mess up relationships. It's not growing.
Okay.
When you are not growing.
And I think this can be we'll be I'll try to be specific for me, and you can you can chime in. Not growing means like you're not growing. I mean, one example is you're not growing closer to God. As a man, you're not the spiritual head. You're not leading the family. You're not reading your Bible. You're not praying, um, and you leave that role for your wife. And I think that can also cause a little bit of a rift in the home. Not growing can also be, I'll say probably career wise. Now, career can be, you know what, I'm at peace. I found this job. I'm happy. Um, but for some families, the the husband is just not motivated. And that, again, I'm speaking from the man's perspective. And then the husband at some point takes a back seat, right? For example, the husband loses his job, right? And the wife is working, and this can happen. And then the husband just less desire, starts playing video games. Like these are signs of, okay, you are obviously not growing. You're actually
It's like passive.
you're becoming even more passive, right? And I think that's one example of not growing that can actually impact the relationship. And marriages can split because of this, where the wife is like, you you have zero desire, you're passive, you're tired, you're playing video games to the middle of the night, you're not helping with the kids, you're not doing anything. So yeah,
There's a saying that you're either growing or you're dying. And that
just like that.
actually is true. You're either growing or you're dying.
Yeah.
There's nothing like staying the same, because when you think you're staying the same, you actually have cells that are literally dying. And I think that can be, and it can also be a sign of self-centeredness, to be honest with you, when you're thinking of the sacrifice you have to pay,
Yeah.
when you're thinking about the discomfort you have to go through. And I've seen this as someone that, again, works with many, I would say, high achieving women.
Mm.
And women that are high achieving, not because I want to be high achieving, but because the way that God has given them a desire and a zeal is for improvement, for
Mhm.
growth, and not just growth for them, but growth for their family. So maybe, for example, imagine in a situation where I am okay with the kids going to the public schools, preschool, daycare, that may not be what fits in the potential desire we could have for our family. Not that there's anything wrong with public. Our kids did public school for a long time. I'm trying to find a great example for you guys. But when the vision that you have for your family, one is amazing, one is abundantly above, and one is like they just have to survive and have a job, right? They just have to barely pass. So if the vision of the family is not fitting because one person is refusing to grow and help the family actually become the best version of
Mhm.
themselves, that can cause lots of drama.
Mhm.
Where now, for example, I'm like, well, maybe the kid actually needs tutoring, maybe they need help,
Yeah.
but it's like, well, we don't have money for tutoring, but you're not performing at the level that you could perform to get the money to be able to
Yeah.
help the kid. So it's a miss, it's not growing, but that actually has to do with a misfit in the vision.
Mhm.
And whether that is economically, whether that is the zeal for the future, whether that is based on faith, and not just like, oh, are you a Christian? Am I a
Mhm.
Christian? It's
Yeah.
deeper than that. It's like, do you have a relationship with God where I can ask you for advice and be able to get wisdom for you? And this is something that actually happened
Mhm.
recently where I was trying to make a decision and my brain was like stuck on
Oh, yeah, I
something.
remember.
And I was just like, I needed advice. I needed wisdom. I needed wisdom. And yes, I believe in mentorship, I believe in coaching,
Yeah.
I believe in prayer, but I also believe that there's a partnership where it does not mean that Sheila is the one that helps them with every business decision, but it's great to be with someone
Correct.
that you trust their ability to think, right? And so I remember bringing that and I said, babe, I don't want you to be my cheerleader in
Yeah.
this. I want you to think
I
like,
want you to be critical.
I want you to be critical about this. I want you to strategize and tell me how you evaluate it, how you would evaluate this situation. Like, I don't want you to encourage me. I want you to like give me insight. Like, think about it and let me know how you are thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what I got. But the only reason why I could get that, I brought Sheila, so like, Holy Spirit, help me here. Right? Like, oh, she's clear that she doesn't want a cheerleader. She'll
Yeah.
like Holy Spirit up in here. And that's the value of having a partnership where the other person grows. Does not mean we grow at the same level in everything, in every moment, in every season. No. But, we're forward facing. We're growth minded. We haven't always been that way, but we
Mhm.
both committed to elevate the family. And more than that, we've both just decided that we don't want to get to the foot of Jesus and be the reason why the other person could not be the best, including our children.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you knocked that out of the park. I think that's really valid when it comes to not growing for sure. Um, and I think this probably can be resolved or can be addressed, I should say, by with communication, right?
With
So
communication. And it kind of leads to the next one, which is this is a problematic behavior when all you're thinking about is me, me, me.
correct,
Where you're prioritizing yourself,
correct.
my time, my wants, my rules, my thoughts, my opinion. I don't know,
My comfort,
my
my
comfort.
comfort, right? I think that's the big one. So this one is more of you are the center of it all, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And when this happens, you're not. There's no compromise, right? There's no sacrifice. Whereas marriage calls for both. Like at some point, you will get to either compromise or sacrifice, and vice versa. And the 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 ability of each of both parties, I should say, willing to quickly come to the table with to sacrifice and to compromise is what makes a marriage very beautiful, right? So and also to reason, because now we're like, okay, I'm willing to pull back from work, for example, so that we can help with this or help with that. And the other person like, I'm willing to, but okay, let's now think logically. Let's strategize. In this season, it's better for me to pull back and you just, you know, go all the way. And we had to do this. I remember when Latifah was finishing medical school, and it was a lot of stress on her, right? And financially she was just not there.
Heck a bro. Heck a bro.
Financially she was not there, and I had to make sure that, okay, I have a good job and I provide. I became the
Sugar daddy.
sugar daddy. But you get my point. My point is,
Daddy.
when this is the part where you are willing again to compromise and to sacrifice.
I've been thinking about sacrifice, and I don't think we talk enough about sacrifice. And I sometimes wonder, people are like, oh, marriages is hard. I mean, there are some difficult parts of marriages, don't get me wrong.
Mhm. Oh,
But
yeah.
I think that sacrifice, I'm like, God, why do relationships need sacrifice in
Mhm.
order to succeed?
Mhm.
Why is sacrifice such a key part to the success of a
Mhm.
marriage? And I think the reason why is because God has created marriages. Yes, we know that God has created marriage to be a model of the relationship between, God the Father, God the Son, God the
Yeah.
Spirit. But also, I think it's because it's recipe for success. Recipe for success. Because if you are going to be very, very successful, regardless of what area of life we're talking about, it's going to require sacrifice. So it's almost like marriage is a practice of sacrificial living, because that is the exact same thing that it takes to succeed. Period. So the sooner you start practicing, and it works when both parties are sacrificing. It's not one person sacrificing and the other one like being like, yeah, I'm the man of the Cold Timberlane, like whatever,
Right.
right? But I don't know if you've thought about it, but I think about sacrifice a lot in the context of like, building a business, serving people, giving, learning skill set, raising children. Parenting is
Mhm.
sacrifice for many, many long-term investment.
Correct. And I think, yeah, we probably need to do like a recording on sacrifice. But sacrifice for me is like you're letting go of something. Something is dying, right? And if that thing that is dying is not because something happened, is because you make a choice. And what I mean by that is you're letting go of either a dream or pursuit or something that you're doing at the time, right? So that something else takes priority, right? For the good of the marriage, for the good of the kids, if you guys have kids, for the good of the business. And people do this in business. They're like, okay, for the first year or second or for the first 3 years, I'm not gonna take any money out of the
Mhm.
business. That is sacrifice. That's you saying that I'm gonna leave everything in, right? And so sacrifice is one way of having a long-term goal instead of meeting a short-term goal. You are saying you have a vision,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And you're playing towards that vision and you're like, okay, I have to do this to get here. I have to work harder, maybe sleep less,
Mhm. Not play games.
or
Play games.
yeah, yeah,
It's true.
or to take another job.
Not pay for nails to get done in the short term. Like
Yes.
this, depending on what the goal is, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
Really?
So we probably need to do a podcast on sacrifice for sure.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Sounds good. All right. Last but
Last
not
one.
so just want to make sure we're on the same page. So far we've talked about 6 behaviors that can destroy a relationship. We talked about lying, cheating, financial infidelity, really. We talked about number 2, not being present emotionally or physically. 3 is assuming without curiosity, aka guilty until proven otherwise. That's what that was. Number 4, we talked about ego, pride, and how that shows up in relationships. Number 5, we talked about not growing from a physical, from what maybe physical too, but not growing from a spiritual perspective, career, mindset, vision, evolution, right? And then the 6th one we talked about is by only prioritizing yourself and not wanting to sacrifice. And the last but not the least is a big one, I think.
Yep.
And it is letting anyone come in between both of you
Correct.
guys.
And we've actually addressed, spoken at length with about this. I think in a different recording. And this is when we say anyone, we're talking about even the kids. We're talking about family. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about parents,
In-laws.
in-laws.
That's a big
Now, this is not saying that you don't love these people. It's saying that you are choosing again to prioritize. After God, you're prioritizing your relationship or your marriage. And this can be challenging. Again, I've shared it before where it was challenging for me because again, I grew up with a culture that had me assume that the kids come before the wife, and it really impacted us for years. And I never saw it until I didn't see it quite away. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I saw it, it clicked, and then I fixed it. No, it took years. And so she's doing the face because she's like,
Did I do the face? I did not know. But sometimes your face speaks louder than your mind. But no, I mean, that was definitely
a
years.
tough time.
And that was definitely tough too because
Yeah.
it's not talked,
Correct.
it's not talked about.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you can start to explain yourself where it's like, I promise I'm not selfish, I'm not self centered, but this is creating, I call it, sometimes I think about it like sandwiches. Like you have a bread, and I don't even like salami, so I'm not sure why I'm thinking about salami. But like you have all this, the thicker the meat in between, it starts to like drive both sides of the sandwich apart. And that's what happens when anything, even good things, can come in between, whether it's work, it's humans,
Correct.
which could be children, especially it's usually something you love. And that's why children are a big part of it.
Correct.
Again, family members, in-laws, any friends, habits, interests. Like literally just think about sandwich. What is driving the two sides apart? The more you put in there, the more you're almost begging really for a very unhappy and very unsatisfying relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Those are the seven. I mean, they can be flushed out more, but let us know what you think. I mean, let us know which one rings more
Yeah.
for you, which one
Resonates.
resonates, which ones you've struggled with in the chat, and just share with us. And well, I mean, we'd love to learn because again, we are constantly learning
Absolutely.
and growing. What are other I know no-brainers that you can tell us or share with us that okay, this also can destroy a relationship? Would love to hear it.
All right. And if this is helpful for you,
Yeah.
make sure you share the link. Subscribe, like, and share. So those are the 3 things: subscribe, like, and share. It's like Legally Blonde, that movie. And she was like, I forget what it was. There was something, anyways.
Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We love you. God bless you.
Have a good one.